thank you everyone for being here. Sadly, Tina could not make it, but we're going to carry forward and have a great time. And thank you all again for being here. And I honestly do honor our ancestors. They're amazing. I'm working on a special project, which hopefully you'll read about later this year. So thank you, ladies, for being here. We're here to talk about fostering female leadership in hotel ownership and development. And I'd like to kind of start, one more second. I want to give honor to the students that are here today. We have 8 students from a local high school, and they're here with a program called Girl Up. And yeah, so thank you girls all for being here. And I love giving back to this industry, whether we always have students of some kind, university, but this is the first time with a high school, and how amazing that they're going to learn about a new industry. So I'm super excited about that. So why don't we start? Marissa, why don't you tell us your background?
Thank you again for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I went to a women's college, and I'm very involved in a number of women's organizations in real estate. And I just think that creating strong communities helps us all feel confident and really grow in our careers. So I'm just so excited. So thank you guys again for having me. Just a little bit about me. I've been in this industry for a little over 20 years. I started in investment banking and became a lodging analyst. Went to business school because I decided it would be a lot more fun to build hotels than to analyze someone else building hotels. I spent 15 years always at brands, but on the real estate investment side. And 6 months ago, I joined Choice as head of development for Radisson Blu. So now working on franchise and management contract side.
Isn't that Choice's new luxury brand?
Yes, it's Choice's new upper upscale lifestyle brand. So we're the flagship brand for Choice.
Awesome. Love it. Marina, you've been around a long time, and you're always out there, and I love that about you.
What a nice-looking group. I got to tell you, ladies. And, on brand, I love that you wore red yesterday. I know that wasn't designed, but I happen to love that it was red. I did not wear red. I don't know why. I missed the memo, but I missed the packing. But I'm Marina MacDonald. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Red Roof, and I have been in this industry for decades. Decades. I think it's cradle to grave. My very first job, we always have humble beginnings. My very first job was, I was an executive assistant. I worked in a big hotel. I'm from Philadelphia, if you can't tell by accent by yet, yes. And I worked for the general manager. I was the world's worst executive assistant. And he knew it, and I knew it, right? He knew it, and I knew it. And every day, it was a big hotel, 700 rooms, and every day the salespeople would parade in, and I would go into the meeting, and I was supposed to take the notes. I didn't take the notes because I am the worst note taker. I asked the questions, and he's looking at me like, what are you doing asking the questions? I'm the general manager. So after 90 days of him realizing that I am not the world's best executive assistant, he knew I wanted to be in sales, and he came into my office in Marina, but he was German. Marina, please come into my office. I went to his office, and he said, you said you wanted to be in sales? And I said, yes. He goes, today, you're in sales. And I said, oh, excellent. So off I went in sales, and it was a big career. I worked at Wyndham for many, many years, and I went from working at a property, being a director of sales, et cetera, et cetera. I left Wyndham. I was vice president. And then I worked at small hotels, big hotels, you name it. And then I worked at Wyndham, and then Wyndham was sold to Blackstone. And I left Wyndham, and I went to Remington Hotels. I was senior vice president at Remington Hotels. And the thing I liked about that is that when you work at a management company, I had 14 different brands, an independent hotel, and I got to see behind the curtain of all of the brands. And a mentor of mine said, Marina, this position of senior vice president at the time was senior vice president of sales and marketing for Red Roof. And I said, I really don't know economy lodging. And he said, that's okay. You know people, you know how to motivate teams, but this is a really great opportunity to really start from the beginning because it was basically a brand that's been around for 35 years, but it was like a startup for me because so I started my agencies, et cetera, et cetera. And it's been great ever since. I've been there for 16 years. I live in Columbus, Ohio, so there we go, we got some. And so that's it. So there I have it. Was that enough?
Awesome.
Was that too long?
Oh, no, that was awesome. That was
Okay.
awesome.
There you have
And
it.
I'll just tell you real quick about me. I've been in travel and hospitality most of my career, starting with Carlson Travel Network. I was a national account manager working with Carlson's two of their biggest accounts. You might know these names, Disney and Toyota. So traveled around managing about $500 million in travel. A lot of fun. I loved it. But then I kind of felt the urge to become an entrepreneur. So I partnered up with two other people that already had a company, and I created their consortia hotel program. So it was a negotiated rate hotel program that's still around today. It's been sold a couple times, called CCRA. It's funny, right? CCRA BL, you know it? Oh, awesome. Well, I'm the mama. And I loved it. It was incredible. And then I brought some other partners in and basically sold my shares in the company. And that's when I moved on because I had already been thinking about BLLA, boutique hotels. And so I took it with me. I told them in my final contract, you can't have it, it's mine. It's in my brain. Although we had already our first meeting. And then I launched BLLA in 2009 that now has 4 other divisions as well. And I absolutely love this industry. It fuels me every day. It's the people. And I've always made it a very important part of my life to spend time with people giving back. And I've had people criticize me for that, like, you don't have time to talk to those people. And I'm like, I do. Because I'm giving back and I'm learning from them. And it kind of I think I've taught a lot of people about this. You do have time, right? And so it's been an amazing ride so far. So if I pass out, I'm kind of hot. Is anybody else hot? If we can, Ange, if you can kind of find somebody, that's my other daughter, Angela. Now, I was so excited when I started hearing about these new programs for women, and your brands are part of that. I know it started a little while back, but it's such an incredible journey, and I kind of want to hear more. So what I want to say, Red Roof is called She Inspired by Red Roof, which I think the logo just came up a minute ago. Is that correct?
That's what it's called now. Yes, that's what it's called.
And knowing that Red Roof, is supportive of women who want to own hotels, manage hotels, etc. Can you tell us about the program and how it started? And
Happy to. I've got a microphone and I'll watch out. I'd be happy to talk about Red Roof and how it started. I say it started as a whisper. That's how it started. Red Roof is, we are 700 hotels, and we have 100% of our hotels are independent business owners, franchisees. Okay. So cast your mind back to 2015, right? I'm at a franchise advisory council meeting. Most of them are men. We have a few women. One woman came up to me and said, Marina, we would like to have a women's meeting. I said, what do you mean? And she said, just meeting with women. And I said, oh, okay. And I just kind of stuck it back in my head. Another one came up to me. Another franchisee. We would like to have a meeting, not with the men, just women. I said, just women, no men? Yes, just women. Then another, as I said, whisper. Okay. So it started as a need. So from really listening to our female franchisees, and then I started hearing it from my staff. So in 2016, we launched the Red Roof Forum on Leadership for Women Entrepreneurs. That's a mouthful, okay? It's a mouthful, but that's how it started. We started with our franchisees, and it was really a place every year we would gather and we would share best practices. Just really, it was motivation, right? Bring, problem solving and things of that nature, camaraderie, things that women do well, all these types of things, communication, et cetera, et cetera. So we started that in 2016. At the time, 2016, Red Roof, about 10% of our hotels were owned or partially owned by women, right? Then, because we were embracing women, embracing ownership, it started to grow. So fast forward, right? Things evolve. In 2022, we had our forum, and we really realized that things had to evolve and change. And so in 2023, we rebranded the Red Roof Forum on Leadership for Women Entrepreneurs, because that's a mouthful, but because we needed really a 360-degree program, we renamed it SHE to support help, and elevate, inspire Bed Red Roof. And today we celebrate that 35% of our properties are owned or partially owned by women. So imagine through those years, that's what happened. But there's a couple of other things that happen. So with She, it is still what we call there's the 4 pillars of She. There's entrepreneurship and ownership, personal branding, wellness. And why do we do wellness? Because we learned in 2020 taking care of yourself is not a selfless act, right? Self-care is not a selfless act, so we added wellness. And then we added side hustle. I'm going to ask you in the audience, how many of you have a side hustle? Okay, so just like this audience, I asked our audience, how many of you have had a side hustle? 80% of the room raised their hand. They had a side hustle. Couldn't believe it. So that was another pillar. So that is our program. Also in 2023, we really leaned into ownership, entrepreneurship, and started a program called RIDE. And that really is, She is designed to motivate, and RIDE is an activation, right? So it's Road to Inclusivity, Equity, Diversity, and Entrepreneurship. And that is access to capital, that's partnerships, that's networking, and that is led by Lena Patel, who is in our development. So we have 2 programs, all designed to support women and underserved markets. So that's it.
That's so amazing. What a story. Wow.
Thanks.
Marina, was that created? You and I were on a panel for AHOA, and it was unusual to have an all-female panel in Southern
time.
California. You remember that?
I do.
Was that before 2016? I don't remember.
I can't remember.
Because I don't remember hearing about the program.
Yeah, it
so I'm
probably
curious.
was. It was probably before then because, like I said, it was really, really, when I say whisper, I say these things because you don't realize when people say these things to you as an exec, and you probably see this too, like you just don't realize the power of it. First of all, the power of just ask the question, the courage sometimes that people to ask, and then you just stitch it together and say, well, this is something, and you should pay attention to it. And women are good at that, right? Women know when there's a whisper, we have that gun into it, we know that, right? This is how we stitch things together, and that's just the power of us, I think.
And doesn't it go back also to women are the last to get funded these days, no matter how hard you try. So having these creative programs is such a wonderful step forward. So I applaud you.
Thank you.
Honestly, amazing.
But there is, Choice has a fantastic one as well. I mean, the brands have really stepped
They've
up.
stepped up. Yes.
Every brand, I hate to say every brand has them,
They
do, and they all have different programs, and we all have, our niche.
And I think Hilton just announced theirs.
Yes, they did. They finally came to the party.
Right.
It took them a little while.
Well, Marissa, just before you start explaining, I just want to say Forbes recognizes Choice Hotels as a top company for women. So that was quite an honor. Ideation by Choice Associates led to the creation of what's called Hotels, an educational pathway that helps women entrepreneurs gain knowledge of our industry and funding, correct?
That's right. I rest my case. That is exactly right. I think that, so Choice at its core and really historically was, mid-scale and economy, and then we've been pushing upscale, and obviously I'm on the upper upscale side of things, but I think what we as mid-scale and economy franchise companies don't do enough of is really celebrate the fact that we help individuals become entrepreneurs. That is what we do. All of our hotels, they're not necessarily institutionally owned. They're not necessarily owned by REITs. They're not necessarily owned by private equity funds. Of course, some of them are, but that is the core of who we are at Choice, and I'm sure at Red Roof, and also at a lot of kind of mid-scale and economy companies. And I think it's something that I want to make sure that we are celebrating about what we do and what we're bringing to the industry, because what we're doing is we're giving people tools to become entrepreneurs, generally. From specifically relating to hotels, when I think about what is the path to ownership of real estate and ownership to hotels, generally there's kind of 3 pillars. There's confidence, there's capital, and then there's culture shift.
3 C's.
Right, so it's the 3 C's, and Hotels, which was created by an internal leadership group, kind of rising leaders, and this was their ideation project, and they came up with this, and we were the first company to come up with a sponsorship organization to help women entrepreneurs become hotel owners. And so we try to tackle those first 2 pillars, confidence and capital. Confidence, seminars like this, learning about what is it to be a hotel owner, what is this business, what are the opportunities, just the education piece to give people the confidence and skills that they need to become hotel owners. And then number 2, helping people access capital, helping them tackle their SBA loan applications, all of those things. So that's another pillar that we do so far, or as of 2022, when our last ESG report was published, we've had about 41 hotels open through the program. So really quite successful, especially when you look across the industry, and only 10% or so of hotels are owned by women. So we're really proud of that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Last year on International Women's Day, I went to Las Vegas and spoke to the students at UNLV about women's programs. And we were talking about everything, and somebody raised their hand and said, even in our university, we don't know how to buy a hotel. We have no clue. And so it's so exciting that these programs have come about, because honestly, the universities are not teaching how do you buy, how do you invest in a hotel, how do you become a hotel owner. So it's really incredible to see that. So thank you for that. So navigating this path, there's so many barriers, right? And you're opening that up. Can you share, do you have a story of anyone that's kind of made it through those barriers to become an owner through your program?
Oh, well, certainly. We have many different successes of women owners, but one of the things, so I'll just talk about one woman that we, when I first started the forum with Red Roof, the very first forum in 2016, her name's Rita Patel. Okay, so Rita, family, her and her husband own a hotel, and she would talk about, she had one hotel, it was an independent, wasn't branded, and they were buying another hotel, so they bought another hotel. And Rita would come and she would say, I work, I'm the manager, I work the front desk, I know how to do housekeeping, I know how to do, she would do all these things. She would say this all about herself. And I'd say, Rita, I've seen the book. I've seen the paperwork. You're the owner with your husband. She said, what? And I said, yeah, you know that all of your information, you're the owner too. And by the end of the forum and by the end of this, she had this confidence that, oh no, I'm the owner. Now she ended up selling her hotel, made a huge profit, right? Because she learned all of these things, but she just didn't, she was really kind of sheltered. I hate to say it. She was sheltered that she didn't know that she was the owner. And now she had this confidence. Okay, fast forward, we have lots of different owners in different avenues. One owner has a red roof. And why do we like why economy lodging? It's humble beginnings. It's an easy way to get in. This is a beautiful place, right? Luxury hotels are the pinnacle, right? You want to be a luxury hotel? Great. Well, you got 100 million? Okay, if you don't have 100 million, I don't know. I don't have 100 million. Maybe some do. I'm not judging. But, so if you want to get into hotel ownership, it is an easier way, less risk if you're when you start economy. And it's the humble way to start, and then you may be able to sell it later. But I don't know if that answered your question, but hopefully that gave you some inspiration and some thoughts.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And I was going to say something, but now I forgot. You know how that works, right? And I want to make sure I'm on time because I don't see a timer up here. So since I'm kind of the first panel, I don't see a timer though. Is it back there? Oh, I can't see it. How many more minutes do we have? Oh, we have 7 minutes. Okay, awesome.
Oh, we have 7 minutes left?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So as experienced women, what strategic advice, beyond what you said, which was perfect. Oh, now I remembered what I was going to say. I don't know if you all know about AHOA. It's the Asian American Hotel Owners Association, because they own most of the hotels in this country that are part of some of these brands. And I remember so many, I went to a women's forum when it was in San Antonio. And we thought there was going to be 300 women. 700 women stormed this room because they want so badly to be a hotel owner. And I don't know if it's just culture or whatever, but it was so heartwarming to see that they're all so anxious and so interested. And so again, it's just more reason why your new programs are going to be so successful. So, do you have any advice?
Is my mic still working? Yeah? Okay, great. I have two things that I would like to say, given that we have 7 minutes left. So I'm going to combine them both into this answer. I would like to just kind of make the point that being a hotel owner requires two different people. Person one gets it off the ground. That person is assertive and risk-taking. And person two makes it a good investment, and that person is modest and risk mitigating. And both of those people are required to make a successful investment. So whoever you really are, like your perspective and your point of view and whichever side of that coin you lean on more, you can still contribute as an investor and as a hotel owner. And I just think that that's something really important to remember, that it's not just, being really aggressive and getting out there that can make you a great owner. So I think that that's one element of it. And to tie that to just strategic advice, and it's something that I only learned 6 months ago or something, I think it's important to figure out what you're great at. Mm-hmm. And do that thing. Not necessarily what you're passionate about, what you're great at. What are you good at and what aligns with your strengths? And, right, so this does kind of tie into my two types of people in hotel ownership, right? But I was always on the real estate investing side. I'm not super assertive and I'm not really a risk taker. I'm far more humble and I'm far more of a risk mitigator. But so it was realizing, okay, where should I be? I went from being in development, not great for someone who's a risk-averse person, right? And then transitioned to asset management, and ultimately, right now I'm on the business development side. But it was using those same skills that I have, but identifying what I'm good at and where am I going to be great, but still be in the ecosystem. So it's just something that I'd like to share. It was a learning that I had over the course of my career, that you can still do the thing that you're passionate about, but find your angle that really speaks to your greatness and your strengths.
No, that's awesome. Since this is a women's conference, we do still need to think about DEI, right? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Even though some people say we're getting old of it, I don't think so. I think we're still in our infancy, even though we're starting to see a lot of changes, you all included, but I still think we have a way to go. And I kind of see it every day in our industry. If you're paying attention to the images on LinkedIn and stuff, and you're going, wait a minute, I don't see any women in there, and that worries me a little, but we are making headway. And I think, all of you are contributing to that and being here. And does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I, for the first time last year, got to moderate and build a panel for BITEC, which is a hospitality conference that they put on. And when I chose to do it, I made it a mission to only have women and minorities on the panel. And my counterpart, who was male and great, love him, we didn't even talk about our missions, but obviously he didn't have the same mission. And he had his panel built within 2 weeks. And it took me 3 months of I had a full-time job, but getting people to come to the panel. And it was the most gratifying experience, and people came up to me afterwards, and I was a little nervous. I hadn't moderated a panel, and they said that was the most interesting panel we've ever seen. And it's because everybody's perspective was so different than what you see at these conferences that we go to all the time. Right. And I just think something simple like that, where I just would not reach out to certain people who I've seen over and over again, makes a difference. So
Thank you for that. And say your name, Jessica
Oh, I'm
Hayes.
Jess. I'm
Jessica
Jess
Hayes.
Hayes.
I think that's awesome. We need to see more of that. And yes, you're right. It takes time because you honestly have to think about it and you have to search for the right people. And this organization, you know, we have an education committee and we're working tirelessly to kind of get it off the ground. And maybe Jess, maybe you could sit on that committee. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Any parting words?
I think my strategic advice is this, and I say this I'm a mentor at Cornell for students, and I say this to the students. At a certain point, you have to perform. Right?
Yes,
You
do
perform.
have to. Yes.
And as women, right, we perform, but we don't tout our successes very well. So
That's true.
I would say that one, you know, perform. You have to do, like you said, I mean, understand your sweet spot, understand what you do well, lean into that, but when you succeed, when you tout your successes proudly, you know, be bold, take risks. But the other thing that I say, and I have a 20-year-old daughter, and she repeats these words to me because I've said this to her so many times. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Yes. I think you've said it, you know, because that's where growth happens. So that's my parting words.
And you're her mentor, right?
Yeah.
Basically.
It's a great one.
Yes. Well, did you have something?
No, I that is a terrific advice. It really is. I think it's a great way to close. But I feel like we've been. Does anyone have any questions?
Any more? Oh, Niall back there.
So just recently, I read that 42% of all U.S. businesses are owned by women. So isn't it time that we owned up to that and know that we have a place at the table?
Yes.
And that women businesses have grown 17% between 2019 and 2021. So it's fast growing. We know what we bring to the table, and we have many different skill sets that we bring to the table. And I think it's time that we owned up to that and claim our seat at the table.
Absolutely. I think we're getting there. Travel and tourism does a better job, I think, than hospitality. But we're getting there. Baby steps, but we're not giving up, and we're going forward. So thank you, Niall.
I think the most important thing is that we as individuals, as women, need to realize that, you know, we have a seat at the table.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be that you're given permission, but
Right.
you have to own that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm very new. I'm an entrepreneur as well, but I'm very new into the hospitality side of things. So I'm learning this industry as far as a year and a half is when I started. And what I've seen is I love these programs that you guys are talking about, but as a very small business, female-owned entrepreneur business, I find it really hard to break into some of the brands, even just like the boutique hotels that are owned individually, because as a vendor, my business would be as being a vendor, because they want to work with still these big corporate brands when it comes to some of the amenities and that type of thing. With your programs, do you guys also seek out small business vendors?
Female owned?
That's awesome. You
That's
do.
a really good question.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have
that's
to
great.
imagine, because I know it's part of our corporate initiatives.
At Red Roof, we prioritize. Now, we prioritize it women-owned, minority-owned, right? We identify them. We have lists of them, and we provide them to our franchisees. Now, you have to be competitively priced, blah, 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 right? You have to do all of those things. But we do have a list, and we prioritize it. So
That's awesome,
Really good
though. That's
question.
awesome.
Yeah.
Hang on, Niall. Hang on.
How does a small business like that gets on that list? I think that's the issue.
Yeah.
Is it a yearly opening that you kind of call to vendors and say, you know, submit your business and
believe
we'll
it
see?
or not, it's not nearly as scientific. It's not.
Sure.
Because guess what it is? It's networking.
Yes.
It's the thing, right? We're like, I'm a marketer, and what I always say is one strategy does not work alone, right? You have to do multiple things, and when you're a small business owner, there's lots of shit you got to do. You got to be here. You got to be on LinkedIn.
You gotta be a
You got
member
to do
of
all
TIEWN.
these things because not one thing is. But at the end of the day, it is relationships that you have. It's like, now I know you, and you're going to come to me, and I'm going to take your card, and I'm going to go to my head of procurement and say, you need to speak to them because they have a great product, and vet them.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, okay. But that's, believe it or not, these types of things work. And that's how you break the barriers. But if it's just a cold email, it's not going to work. I mean, you're all business. You know, you have to have multiple touch points before it works. So hopefully that, I don't know what you sell, but you tell me later.
Well, that's perfect, Marina. You're a new board member of TIEWN, so that's going to be your focus. We're going to,
Okay.
so you all have to be members, though, officially of TIEWN, and we will blow up your company in a great way.
We'll try.
I just want to thank you, both of you, so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and look forward to seeing you.